Yes.
Now, while we were, chatting behind the scenes, we mentioned something very sensitive
Yes.
because perhaps some people know about it, some may not know.
Yes.
But part of why I said you're this woman that I would love to have on this show, it's because what you went through, losing your husband, it's something not so many people are willing to talk about it. There are those who are being stigmatized by maybe the relatives. There are those even just themselves, if not healed, or they feel as if they can never even move on. So if we could touch on that and maybe just go to down to it, like how did it happen?
Um,
And how did you
yeah.
receive the news,
Yeah.
yeah.
So thank you so much for
Yeah.
that. Uh, First, I would say that I was married
Yeah.
to one Chidi Obona,
Yeah.
who is the father of my 4 children.
Mm.
That is Victoria, Ijoma, Chidima, Zawadi, and Grace Baraka Beidu.
Yeah.
Um, and we lived like any other family. At some point, I said when I moved to Meru, he was still working, and crisscross. He worked with the UN, so he traveled a lot. But of course, with time, as Ripple started gaining roots, and I realized this is where I'm to stay, he actually came to join me, and we were doing we formally registered our ministry as Ripples International, and he came in to join me. He was a very good administrator, I must say, very strict, people's person. I'm sure many people knew him. A very friendly, warm person. But of course, as fate has it, nobody knows about tomorrow.
Yeah.
One day on his way from Nanyuki, in a rush to come and pick our daughter from school, because during school breaks, she was in Fred, she was a boarder, and she was used the father picking her. And I said, "Can I pick her?" And he said, "No. She'll be sad if she doesn't see my face. Allow me pick her." And I'm there waiting and calling, and he's not picking. And of course, to cut the whole story short, I get news that there was an accident, and I rush. So it was around Kisima. This famous black spot between Kisima and Ntuge, the Isiolo Junction. And the people who made the phone calls didn't tell me he was dead. They said, "We are rushing him to hospital, so at least you could come." So I'm rushing. I remember my boy saying, "He's okay." I said, "Yeah, he's okay." And going there, and then when I realized our life is so useless, so useless. So I rush. I see this is where the accident has happened. So I get back into the car. Somebody asked me, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm rushing," because they say they are taking him to Nanyuki, to Cottage Hospital. The person held my hand and said, "No, come fast." And which was the saddest moment for me, because they didn't have anything to cover him. They had taken the car mats, the mats we use on the car. So the body was there, but they had covered. So they told me, "Here is the body." I'm thinking, oh my goodness, it's now not a human being, it's a body. It's being
just
referred as a
vaguely
body.
like that.
Yes, the body is here.
Wow.
And then he was lying there, covered with, the mats, the mats we use on the car. So they opened the mat, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, now the body is so useless. They actually are covering, using the car mats to cover him. Of course, it was very traumatic. And going through that phase of loss. And but I can tell you, we live in a community, and what I know is I had so many stories during that period. Too many stories that some of them even months later. I got to hear from a friend of mine who works with the DCI that I was actually being investigated for having arranged for the accident. I mean, that broke my heart. Many things went on, and of course, most of them not true. But it's an incident that I remember with a lot of pain. Here we are. We've gone through loss. The kids are mourning. It's a difficult period. And then people all over have very many unformed stories. But we dealt with it as it came. And I thank God for his grace and strength during that phase. But I can tell you, and I want to emphasize this for anyone who is listening. Being a widow, it's the most difficult phase of any, I'm not sure about men, I'll speak on women, on a woman's life. It was a very difficult phase for me. Some I can't even explain on camera. But I would cry. I was like, okay, God, how do I get myself out of here? It got to a point where I can't even give anybody a lift in my car because you are judged. We saw her with so and so. One example I'd like to give is, here a friend of mine called me and she's buying me tea at Gatimene, and I tell her, come to Gatimene because it's near my home, so I can go home early. And a friend who I haven't seen like over 10 years, I don't even have their phone, I've never called, shows up, and I'm excited. I'm like, oh my goodness, long time. Not knowing this person, they already had family issues back at home. And someone is trailing. So what does the message go? They were seen with so and so here. Next thing, a church elder is calling me. I'm like, what are we talking about? I have never seen this person. I've never even dialed that number. Oh, I think it's good you come, we sit and we say, what are we resolving? That I met and I said hello. I mean, it was very hard. I can go on and mention incidences that I had. But I think for me, it was a season that I don't wish anyone. It was a season that I don't wish anyone. It was a difficult phase for me and my children. And I went to my pastor. I told my pastor, I don't think I want to go on like this. And then, of course, we live in a very small town. That people carry gossip for things that have not even verified. And I told my pastor that you need to pray for me. I need to get married. I'm still young. And so we started. And believe me, someone invited me to Malawi. Okay, I was doing on a project, and they invited me for a presentation in Malawi. And I'm like, I didn't feel like going. And they said, it's good for you to make this trip. And I decided, okay, a friend of mine told me, I think it's also good for you to go and just unwind. And so I took it. So I went. And so of course, when I went there, because I went like 3 days after everybody else had reported. And I remember the host saying, Mercy is here and she lost her husband. Those 3 moments of silence they give. So there's this gentleman who walked over to me after that and said, so what happened? I'm explaining, how did it happen? And, then he also had a story. Was going through also some challenge. And the rest is history. So that's how we met. So later, the next story that came up was, I already knew this guy. It was just crazy things that I got to hear. And to cut the whole story short, we got to know each other, kept in touch, and that's how we got married. And we got married, and so I'm now married to John Beidu.
Now, before when we get to your beautiful story now with Beidu, how old were your kids when now you're losing their dad and they're hearing all these stories? Because I'm trying to imagine, maybe some of these stories even got to the kids. And how did they take them?
It did. And amazingly, one of my children was actually the one who was, we assume there are things kids don't know. By the time the Chidi died, my first was in Form 1. My second was in grade 8. My third, I think, was in grade 5 or 4, around there. I can't quite remember well. But they were pretty young. So it means only one was in high school, the rest were in primary school. And of course, they had quite a lot, you know, people. And then they in social media. Then they would pick something. And I remember my daughter would bring, and then, who is this? And before I know, she starts fighting herself and responding. So one day I told her, you know, you can't do this. You know that one of the persons told her, you know, you're not even 18. How is it that you have a gadget? She told me, Mom, this is so wrong. Why are they saying this about Dad? And I would calm her down. And I tell her, you know, just leave it. You can't respond. I'm one person who I don't have negative energy. So if you send something, I will never respond.
Just leave it.
I get them. I just read and say, is this worth my energy? This somebody's probably very idle somewhere. So we went through that phase, and I involved them in every stage of the way. So we would sit, and I think at some point, they would talk to my sister, and they would tell my sister, oh, I think Mom is not okay. You need to call Mom, you know, all this. So when finally it was time to introduce them, I mean, they were excited. In fact, sometimes they'll make jokes. And I remember one time I was lying on bed and they knocked at the door. And the next thing I heard was da, da, da. I'm like, okay, what's going on? She said, you know, people get married online. So wake up, it's your wedding day, you need to get married. So they made fun out of it a lot. And then also, I think it also made it easier because he didn't have kids of himself. He didn't have kids. And I think the fact that he was also West Africa, it was easier to blend. Kind of felt like a dad, but not a dad. And I must tell you, they are very close. Yeah, they are very close with the kids. In fact, most things they channel through, they are not me. So now in the family, I'm the firm and hard one. So he's a soft one.
When they want to get their way,
when they want to get their way. And we are a one nice blended family.
If you don't mind me asking, now when you're meeting him, it's how long was it after now you had lost Chidi?
I lost Chidi in 2012. Like I said, in 2013, I was invited in a meeting in Malawi, which was, and that's why people said I knew him. Here I am in 2013, I'm still mourning Chidi, and I go there, they're standing, I mean, you know, that moment of silence, and after that break time, this person comes and says, oh, I'm so sorry, what happened? And actually, it was very interesting what happened. When he went back, he wrote, okay, this is what happened. I didn't even say that bit. After that now, and I always say some things are just ordained by God. Because after that, my flight was cancelled. Somehow, I think there was some weather issues. My flight was cancelled. What I didn't realize, he was also in the same flight. So in this conference, everybody left. And two of us were left. And we were just catching up, no telling the story more. And it wasn't really what people say love at first sight. No.
Goosebumps.
No. We just discussed business and talked. Then we happened to be on the same flight. So I alighted in Nairobi, and then he proceeded because he was going to Ghana. So after that, he writes email and says, oh, you know, after we met, I'm like, hey, what's wrong with this guy? And we just met here, and he's assuming. I was very rude. I still have that email. And I replied, because he was doing similar work that I'm doing. And there's a project we had done, which he was interested in. And they had a couple of questions. So the most stupid thing I did was reply him and copied my colleagues that email.
Wow.
You know, I think it was just those crazy moments. I was like, oh, does it? And then, of course, remember, it's very fresh. I've lost my husband. So I replied his email and copied my two colleagues. And I said, I hope I'm not reading anything between the lines. And this would be very unprofessional of you. I've copied you the reports you wanted, and I've copied so and so and so and so. From here henceforth, they'll guide you through this process.
Well, I don't want to get involved. Oh, the savage mercy.
And that was done. And, you know, finished. So months later, I think he had gotten my phone number to send me a message. Hi.
Was
And
really
I tell you,
determined.
the WhatsApp has a way of that can WhatsApp. Hi. Send this, and I don't even know how I entered the box. So I would say I met him like a year after. But we got married end of 2014.
2014.
So I got married like 2 years after. Yeah.
So you really took him round and round the corners and
no, I wouldn't say that, because after this first phase, he didn't like bring in that subject again. But now gotten on WhatsApp. Hi, have you seen this? Oh no, no. And the next thing, there was like a smooth flow.
Yeah, because now you know he's gotten you as a friend. Now you feel now this is a friend, so you totally forgot there's something else going on here.
Yes.
And how, like, yes, you've mentioned that the community at large, people started saying that this person, maybe even you knew him even before, and of course there was a lot of accusations. How are you able to maneuver that? Because we have women who have lost their husbands who are relatively young. They would love to move on, but they're stuck. And you meet these women that you meet them later and they're just frail, not because they are old, but because they are carrying on so much. They still have so much to give, but they're not able to. How are you able to maneuver that? And especially with all these accusations coming at you.
Yeah. One of the things I tell myself, and I also tell my friends, is if you do, they'll say you do. You did. If you don't do, they say you did not do.
Yeah.
So there's no way you can satisfy a human being 100%. And I always like to give this example. If you have 100 shillings, give everyone equal, 100 people, and give them one. One person will complain and say, why did you give me last? Kwa nini mimi nilipatiwa noti mse? You know, there will always be a complaint. You can't satisfy people 100%. It wasn't an interesting phase for me, that transition. But you know what? I put cotton wool in my... The first thing that came up is my vows with Chidi were very clear. Until death do us part.
Right, yeah.
Now death has done us part. I'm a Christian. Some people say it was too soon. Wait.
Yeah.
I have not seen the subscribed waiting period.
Yeah, there's no timeline.
Is it 3 years?
Yeah.
Is it 5 years? Is it 10 years? Even if you waited 5 years, they'll still say it's too soon. They'll say, oh, why did she put the children through that? Are you in my home to know what conversation we are having with my children? So people will always judge and people will always have things today. I say it's a personal decision. It's almost like we do mediation. And you can have a couple whereby you discuss and you think you have resolved issues and you mediate and they are okay. And you have said separate and they have gone apart. Remember, this is a case you mediated. Next, you meet them in Sayen. They are very happy together. And you're like, oh my goodness, imagine they're back together. So it's a personal decision. Even a counselor can only is there to mediate and help you take an independent decision. So, of course, I was judged a lot. That was so soon. The idea of I already knew him came up. The idea of we were already dating even before Chidi died. Is anybody producing evidence or even coming? Oh, nothing, but just somebody starts a rumor. You know they're already dating. Another one hears, by the way, I heard they're already dating. Another one said, oh, you did know they already knew each other. I mean, then it becomes a real story. And I've seen many women who have been stuck there because they are not able to make that move. There are many losses we say we experience. There's the actual loss of death. Even losing your job is a loss. So, because the pain might be different, but you still go. Loss is anything that causes you pain. So, I was invited to speak when I got married. And one of the churches, in fact, I used to get so many invitations until I realized I have to stop, because now it was also affecting my productivity at work, because I was getting all those. One of the reasons why I was being invited to speak was because to narrate my story. How did you do it? How are you able to overcome the stigma associated with it? It's, by the way, it's very easy for men to remarry than for women to remarry.
Yeah.
Men, it's a walkover. Tomorrow they get somebody, everybody's okay. But for a woman, it becomes very hard.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Our cultures have defined us.
Yeah.
I'm here, I'm married. I'm living in my husband's place. And we've bought land, we've built, my in-laws are there watching. So the women are put in a very difficult situations. So the dynamics are very complicated. You have young children. The moment you can't bring him home to your relatives and say, I found a man I want to marry. No. Are you going back to your father's home? If you go back to your father's home, are they going to return your dowry?
Yeah, the dowry.
You understand? So there's a risk of women feeling, if I remarry, I'm going to be disinherited.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to be chased out of that home. What happened to my children? What happened to my future? You know, all those dynamics. So you find a woman would rather sacrifice their comfort, sacrifice their lives. Let me call it life. Sacrifice your life for the sake of the children. So anytime I would be invited to speak, there are those ones who never raise their hands. The notes I would get, there are people who writing small notes, having questions, they're stuck. So what do many women, many widows have ended up doing is having affairs behind. Behind, because now you can't bring this man home. You can't introduce him because you have children. So those cultural dynamics have hindered a lot of women to think of remarrying. It's not because they don't have desires. It's not because they don't have needs, but they have chosen to sacrifice their needs for the sake of the children, their own children, and for the sake of the property. I had one of the ladies who, after the husband died, got this amazing person, and they were so happy together. And when you see this one, you'll always see this. When you see this one, they were such a lovely couple. And all of us desired. Sometimes you tease them and say, what are you guys waiting for? But you know what the dynamics were? The woman does not want to move to
the man's.
And the man cannot move into
the woman's place.
The woman is afraid that if she moves there, then she'll lose the property if the husband has to. It's like she's taking this property. So those dynamics delayed. And you know what? With time, the man couldn't wait any longer. Got someone else. Do you know this woman experienced a second loss? And it was so painful because it's somebody you loved, but the technicalities here are not allowing us to be together. And I would say for me, I think it was a little easier because then these are people from two different countries. So I think for me, the dynamics were a little bit easier than what I have seen most of the women go through. And I tell women, take a decision. Either you're sacrificing because some of them don't even have children, younger children. They have children who are gone through the university. Either you're taking a decision and transferring this property to your children, then you can continue with your life afresh and make that sacrifice, or you choose to just stay. So there are a lot of things that happen behind it. This is the one I would want to end up with. We have this case we were dealing with a couple of weeks ago, where this lady, the husband died, and she's living still in his home, and the mother-in-law is there. Then she's pregnant, and she managed to hide that pregnancy. She loves the baby, but she manages to hide that pregnancy until she goes and gives birth. She cannot now go home with a small child. Where does she end up? And she wants to somebody to just hide for her the baby. This I'm telling you a case of 2 weeks ago. maybe about 3 or so weeks ago. And so there's not dynamic. And we said, you know what, we have to face the reality. If it means making sacrifices because there's a father, but you're still here, so your one leg is here, you don't want to lose this.
Yeah.
So we had, our counselor had to kind of mediate to see if she can be accepted back
home.
After all, you didn't have a son, now there's a son in the home. So those are some of the challenging and dynamics that women go through when they lose their spouses. But for the men, it's a walkover. Even if they want to have to remarry tomorrow,
they will.
The society doesn't judge them. And unfortunately, we as women are so judged by the society. Again, I always say it's also a decision we take. Either you're convinced in your hearts and you do the right thing that pleases you and your family, or you let the community judge you, the society judge you. So I wouldn't say it's been easy for me. It's been very tough. And also gone through a lot of shaming. It's also not been easy for my husband, especially living in this community, being judged and not very interesting words. But we have stuck together because we know why we are in this. And we have not allowed the society to judge us. And we have not allowed what the society is saying define us. Yes, of course, people will talk. And of course, we are human. It will affect you and it will make you feel bad. But we have chosen not to let the society define our happiness. Yes.
It's so heartwarming to see how you even talk about him. You may not see it, maybe you will see it as you're watching this episode. Your face just lights up, and love is beautiful. In all forms of it, love is beautiful.
Yes.
Let me ask this question. It's a funny one. Let me ask this question. Especially, now having married someone outside, not only your community, but even your country. You've never gotten teased of, hey, kwani hawa wetu wa Meru, kwani hawa wetu wa Kenya si wazuri? Girls, also young girls go through that. Especially girls that even marry maybe whites and stuff. Did you go through that? And if you did, how did you handle that?
I think I would say mine started from word to go. Because I was married to Chidi. Chidi was not Kenyan. He was a Nigerian. And first it started with my mother. Hey, very tough. And remembering my mother is a cop.
Yes.
And so he already knew my mother will not accept. And I think he already did that. Even me, got me off guard. So one day we had invited, we were doing a birthday. It was my birthday and my mother is there. From now, he just knelt down in front of everybody. He knelt down and told my mother, I'm not waking up until you allow me marry your daughter.
This is Baidu now?
No, I'm talking about Chidi.
Chidi now?
Yes, for start. And my mother was confused. She was very tough. Everybody's there looking. It was a surprise, even to me, because he had never asked me, you want to marry me? He went to my mother first. So, and it was kind of dramatic. And they said, I'm not coming, I'm not standing until you allow me to. So my mother she looked at me. She said, first, you need to talk to me. And the second, you'll have to promise that you'll be in Kenya for a minimum of 5 years.
Wow. And that's a tough woman.
And he said yes. So, and then I'm like, okay, he's never even asked me to marry him. So that was the first. And I must also say that I wouldn't say I think it's just the way fate is. You can't say that I planned. I don't want to marry a Kenyan or a Meru in that.
It's not something that you sat down and decided.
If anything, my entire campus life, I was locked to a Meru guy. I didn't even look right or left. And he had cheated on me until I found out when I was in my final year.
Oh.
I almost failed my exam. It was a heartbreak. So I've suffered heartbreak. It was a bad heartbreak. So I can't necessarily say that I locked the Kenyan wherever out. I attempted, and I was so in love, and I was heartbroken so badly.
Yeah.
And then also meeting John, I never imagined I would marry him actually, because it's complicated. Maybe it's also good to mention this. He's royalty. He comes from a kingship family.
Wow.
If you read the history of Ghana or Nigeria, they have the kingship.
Yes, they do.
John is a king actually.
Oh.
He's a king. And he used to make jokes when we were dating and tell me, if my uncle dies, I'm the next on line. Oh, I used to think, those are just jokes. The way you tell jokes.
Yeah.
He told me, actually, I'm serious. If my uncle died today, I'm the next king online. I'm like, I said, why are you always laying planks? Because he has an elder brother.
Yeah.
And believe me, the moment we married like this, I'm in Ghana visiting him. He's a lawyer, by the way. He's a lawyer by profession. So he's gone to court, and the uncle dies. And you see, the moment the uncle dies, they cannot announce his death until there's somebody on the throne. So he has all these guys. He's kidnapped.
So what we watch in the movies, it's
yes, yes, I went through that. So he's kidnapped. Let me call it kidnapped.
Yeah.
Then he's begging them. He said, please, I have my wife. She's come all the way from Kenya. If she doesn't see me, she'll be traumatized. So he managed to convince them to pass through the house. So they passed through the house, and I'm wondering,
what's going on?
He says, my uncle died. I'm like, so? I'm like, I have to be taken in hiding for about 14 days to be taught. And they hijack you. They don't even give you time to go get anything from the house or nothing. They got him from court. And then they have to go and be taught. I'm like, okay.
What do I do?
What's this? And he says, so he has all these funny leaves tied on his hands, tied on his legs. And because now he's supposed to be the next king.
Yeah.
So they have to take him somewhere. I'm like, okay. It was for real.
Where?
And the uncle died unexpectedly. So he's like, okay, I'm like, I'm going back to Kenya. And he's like, no, I said, I have to go back to Kenya. I'm confused. I don't have anyone.
Yeah.
So, and he has to go in isolation for this number of days. Because he has to be taught. Then, of course, now he begins to explain to you. After that, now your life changes.
Yeah, sure.
You can no longer eat in public. He wears sandals, can't wear shoes. Like, there's a whole new lifestyle.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'm not prepared for this. So that's where my children come in now, because one of the interesting things is my daughter started saying, now when I told them, they're like, hi, Mom, what's wrong with you? We are princesses. You guys. If you don't want to be queen, us, we are princesses.
We are ready.
Dad, are we going to be carried with the palanquin? He said, me, I'm in. I'm going to be carried by palanquin. And all those things. Making jokes about it. But it was real. So, so he goes. So we agreed. So he sneaked in again in the morning, and I've changed my flight. I'm back in Kenya. I came back. I'm like, I'm not ready.
Yeah.
Of course, with modernization, the kings are more ceremonial.
Yeah. They don't really have to.
To be there. So what they do, they have this council of elders that run their affairs. They are involved in all these family those things. Yeah. But the kingship position is more ceremonial. When they have community festivals, events,
he has to
so
be
you have to be there and all that. So he explains to me, like, I don't have to be here, I can still do my work, but I have to be there for community, whatever. They have what they call linguistics, and they have what they call family head. They have like a whole structure. People who now run the day-to-day affair. Me, I'm like, I need to rethink this. I need to process this. So I come to Kenya. And I remember one day, now of course he goes through that. And they prepare for his coronation. And they're asking, where is your wife? And he says, oh, my wife is not here, but she'll come. So they prepare the whole coronation, where they carry in palanquin.
Yeah.
And that coronation happens at 5 in the morning. Is where now, they have what they call talking drums. They don't, there's a way the drums are beaten, and you can know what that means. So they talk through the drum. Means this, means this. And remember, the king cannot be buried. And the king cannot be buried until there's a king in.
Yeah,
and the wife can never leave the house until the king is buried. Wow. So me, I remember one day, I will never forget. I was on the road taking our son to school in Naisula. So he calls me and I'm in a petrol station. He tells me they're coming for me tomorrow at dawn. I'm home, preparing. His mother had bought all the lingadia. By the way, their kingship is maternal. It's maternal, not paternal.
Not paternal.
That's the only way you can ensure the breed is protected. So it's maternal. So the mother has bought him all the lingali and everything that he needs, and she's excited because it's her family. You see the way they have the 3 sisters. So it rotates. So this one, after this, comes to this,
Yeah.
So I park by the petrol station. He says, they're coming for me tomorrow. I'm like, what do you think? I'm like, follow your heart. Follow your heart.
You don't even know what to
For
say.
me, I need time to process, because it looks such a joke when you used to tell me. But I didn't think that I'm entering, and the next thing you're becoming king. I mean, what does that mean? I have children who are going to school. I mean, it was a whole
lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So I say, follow your heart. And he decided to disappear. Travels to Accra. Following day, boards a flight and comes back. So at 5, they can't find him. They can't find him. So the brother is calling me. And the brother is saying, oh, and of course, who will I blame? His Kenyan wife. Has told him not to become king. But I didn't tell him not to become king. I did not tell him not to become king. His Kenyan wife has influenced him. And let me tell you, I've never spoken about it, but it was such a big letdown for his people. It was such a big letdown for his people. And of course, he's not there. The talking drums have already been. Community is waiting for someone to be for coronation
to happen.
And he's nowhere. Him is in a flight, he's landing in Kenya. So they go for his brother. And his brother said no. So there's confusion. Oh, the elders were so angry. They were so angry. As in, it took him months before he could go back home. So they went for the cousin, the community rejected. So as we speak, they still fight in the community
over that.
So it took 2 years for the king to be buried, because they could never agree on who needs to be king. And the fight still continues to date. So after 2 years, both parties agreed to bury the king so that they can be left to their fights. So we always say he's a king in hiding.
So no one has been...
No.
Wow. No. So it's just the council of elders now running as they discuss the way forward.
Yes.
Wow. So I take it you're still blamed in the community?
Very much. Yes. They always think maybe I gave him juju.
In Kenya we do not have juju.
In Kenya we do not have juju, but they don't understand why. Why he left.
And for them, of course, that's the highest, that you can get as a man. So why wouldn't you want
Why did you leave? And then also for me, one of the things I really struggled with is it conflicted with my faith a lot. And you see, for them, it's usually not a matter of choice. It's like you're born in this family, and these are... you're already being a member of this family. This is your line. But for me, some of the practices conflicted a lot with my faith.
Yeah.
For example, there's that cutting of blood and putting it on his feet, and some of the oath he has had to go through, and that's why I mentioned to him, you follow your heart.
Yeah.
If your heart tells you, I would support you. Yeah, but it conflicted with my faith a lot.
Yeah.
But when I look at it also on the other side, he also had chances, or he still has chances, to change some of the barbaric customs and tradition. Because as a king, whatever you say almost becomes law.
Law, yeah.
Yeah. Of course, you may have issues here and there with the elders.
Yeah.
But whatever. So he had an opportunity to change some of the barbaric traditions. Yes.
Because for him, he also doesn't believe, he also feels that things that he cannot.
Yeah, of course, he also has things that he struggles with, especially the issues of wife inheritance.
Yeah.
For example, if I go a little bit deep, as a king, you're automatically given a stool wife. It's what they call a stool wife.
Yeah.
So if I'm not there, the stool wife runs the business.
And by business, we mean every business.
Well, it's supposed to be every business. However, what some do is they pay them off. And these ladies grow up knowing this is my life. They are groomed, they are taken, they're isolated in a place where you're just being prepared to be the wife to the king. And they know that. So grooming and, their whole beauty thing, and you know that. So some choose to, some king would choose to pay them off. Yeah, like get a lot of money and pay you off. Yes, so that you don't have to be there.
Yeah.
But there are some kings who also decide, I want my stool wife.
Yes.
They call them stool wife.
Oh.
So I don't know if you'd want a stool wife or you want your real wife or pay off. So there's a lot of dynamics. And let me say, there's a lot of dynamics that go along. But I can say he's a king in hiding.
Yeah. He is your king.
Yeah, he's my king. Yeah, we call him your highness. So that's why sometimes you hear some of my friends ask, how is your highness? Yeah. He's supposed to be a king to his people. Yeah.
Truly, Mercy, yours is just, I don't know what to call it.
I can see you even forgot your Anita. You are listening to my story.
I've truly enjoyed this. It was worth the wait. I see why there had to be a lot of delays, because I am sure that's part of you that no one knew.
Yeah. A few people know.
Of course, maybe the people that know you,
but many people don't know.
The public in general do not know about that.
No.
And I'm so glad and feel honored that you are vulnerable enough to.
My children are now our children. One of the things Beidou did when we got married was to request for custody of the children.
Yes.
Such that if I'm not available, things that he is a legal parent. So that was done immediately we died. And also, we are very real. And this is what some of the families don't do.
Yeah.
When you get married and you have other children from maybe another father, you want to ensure that you want them to forget about the other father.
Yeah.
And this is the father. And it doesn't work that way. They may pretend, but the truth is they're still so connected because this is their biological father. And that's a fact. And you cannot erase that. So our kind of parenting is, we come from that understanding that you are their father, but they had a real dad who is not available today. Even when you're stepping in those shoes, you're already in appreciating that there was a father. I may not be exactly that father, but I try in my own way to be that father. Meaning, even when maybe it is we are doing the anniversary, maybe we do that 14th of October, and we have to go and maybe lay flowers. He's the one who reminds and says, hey, today is anniversary for. So he will lead the children and give them a chance to maybe eulogize, And last year was special, very interesting because I didn't know my daughter had all the letters. Chidi was a very good writer. He was a storyteller, and they're very good in writing and love letters. And she was reading. And John was there to support and encourage. So we can't say we have buried that because it was there. And you can't erase it. And but how do we support the children to walk that journey? Appreciate that today she could be down, not because you are not a good father, but because there was also this father that it's just those moments that you understand. So we've gone through that phase, and it's very supportive.
2 weeks living where we shine so bright. She goes the host, making everything feel just right. Love, laughter, and glow, that's what we're all about. Come on, join our family, let's really shine. Games and challenges